Hey everyone, welcome back to the English Pod. I'm so glad you're here. My name's Alina, and in today's episode, I want to take you on a very personal journey. A journey that changed the way I learned English, and honestly, changed my life. We're going to talk about something that's simple but incredibly powerful. Something most learners ignore, even though it could be the key to real fluency. And that is listening to real conversations. Now, maybe you're someone who's been learning English for a while. You've done the grammar exercises. You've memorized tons of vocabulary. You've watched videos and read books. But when it comes time to actually talk to someone in English, your mind just goes blank. Sound familiar? You're not alone. I've been there too. You feel like you should be better by now. You understand English when it's written. You can recognize words when you see them. But when a native speaker talks quickly, with slang, and real emotion, it's like your brain just shuts down. Well, if that's you, this episode is for you. Because today, I'm going to share exactly how I moved from that stuck, frustrated place to a place where I could understand fast English, respond naturally, and actually enjoy speaking. And the funny thing is, it didn't happen through more studying. It happened through listening, but not classroom listening, not slow robotic recordings. I mean real conversations. So grab a cup of tea, get comfy, and let's dive into this together. I promise, by the end of this episode, you'll see just how powerful your ears can be. Let me take you back to a moment I'll never forget. I was sitting in my English class. You know, the kind with desks, notebooks, and grammar worksheets. We were learning the difference between present perfect and past simple. And I was doing okay. I got the answers right. I filled in the blanks. My teacher even said I was one of the top students. But then, one day, I met a native speaker at a social event. We started talking, or at least they did. They smiled, introduced themselves, asked me a question, and I froze. I couldn't understand them. I mean, I knew the words. I had seen them before. But the way they said them, fast, casual, with a completely different rhythm, it was like they were speaking a different language. My brain just panicked. Everything I'd learned disappeared, and I felt so embarrassed. I wanted to run away. That was the moment I realized something. All that studying, the grammar rules, the flashcards, the practice tests. It wasn't enough, because I hadn't trained my ears. I hadn't heard real English. I didn't know how it really sounded, how people actually spoke. And I remember thinking, if I want to speak this language, I need to stop studying it and start living it. And living it began with listening. Not perfect listening, not textbook listening, but messy, real, human conversation. That was the beginning of my transformation. And in the rest of this episode, I'll show you how you can start that transformation too. Let me share a few real-life stories that truly shaped how I listen to English today. These moments weren't in a classroom. They weren't part of any course. They were just life. Real, messy, awkward, and surprisingly powerful. Story 1. The coffee shop misunderstanding. So picture this. I walk into this cozy little coffee shop on my first trip abroad. It's my first time ordering in English, and I'm nervous but excited. I've practiced my line. Hi, can I have a cappuccino, please? I say it. Boom. Nailed it. The barista smiles and asks, for here or to go? And I panic. What? I stare at her like she just spoke in another language. For here or to go? I'd never heard that in any textbook. She repeats it slowly, kindly. For here or to go? And I'm still blank, totally frozen. Eventually, I just point at a chair. She smiles, nods, and gives me the coffee. Later, I find out what it meant. For here means you'll drink it in the coffee shop. To go means you're taking it with you. So simple. But in that moment, it was like a riddle. And that day, something clicked in my mind. I realized I wasn't prepared for real English. Not textbook English. Not slow, clear recordings. But the kind of English people use every single day. Fast, casual, full of shortcuts. And that's when I knew, if I wanted to really learn this language, I had to start listening to real conversations. Story 2. Learning from my roommate's phone calls. A few months later, I got a new roommate. She was a native English speaker, super friendly, always chatting on the phone. At first, I didn't pay much attention, but slowly, I started noticing things. Phrases like, "No worries, I'm down. Hit me up later." And I was like, wait, what do these even mean? No worries. She used that all the time. If I apologized for something, she'd just smile and say, "No worries." It meant, "It's okay. Don't worry about it." I'm down. I thought she was sad at first, but nope. She meant she agreed or was excited. Like, "Want to go to the movies tonight?" "Yeah, I'm down." "Hit me up." That one confused me a lot. She'd end phone calls with, "Cool, hit me up tomorrow." And I'm sitting there thinking, hit you? No. It just means message me or call me. What's wild is, I wasn't trying to study. I wasn't taking notes or using a grammar book. I was just listening. And over time, these phrases stuck. I started using them myself, naturally. And here's the part that really surprised me. I didn't even realize I was learning. But I was. By just being around English. By letting it fill my ears every single day. Sometimes the best learning happens when you're not trying to learn. When you're just living. Story 3. The airport conversation. Now let me tell you about a moment that changed everything for me. I was at an airport waiting for my flight, sitting near the gate, headphones in, kind of zoning out. And this older gentleman next to me starts chatting. You know those casual airport chats. "Where are you headed? Flight delayed?" We ended up talking for 20 minutes. And here's the thing. I understood almost everything. I wasn't translating in my head. I wasn't thinking in my native language. I was just responding. Like I'd finally broken through that wall between thinking and speaking. He told me stories about his travels, his favorite food in the city, even a joke or two. And I was keeping up, laughing, responding. Not perfectly, but naturally. And when the conversation ended and he said goodbye, I remember sitting there thinking, wow, that just happened. I spoke in English. I really did it. That moment gave me something no textbook ever could. Confidence. Not the kind you get from a test score, but the kind that says, you're doing this. You belong in this language. These stories, as small as they may seem, were huge turning points for me, because they taught me that fluency doesn't happen in a classroom. It happens in life, in coffee shops, in living rooms, in airports. And it all starts by listening, not perfectly, not like a student, but like a human, listening to real people, real conversations, real emotion. That's how I learned English, and that's how you can too. So, what exactly did I do? What helped me go from frozen in conversations to flowing? It wasn't magic, and it definitely wasn't a textbook. It was simple, consistent habits, things I started doing every single day. And today, I want to share them with you. These aren't tips you'll find in a grammar book. These are real strategies that worked for me, and they can work for you too. Tip number 1. Choose real English content. This was my first big shift. I stopped listening to overly scripted audio tracks. You know the ones. Slow, robotic, perfect grammar. They're great for beginners, but at some point, they stop helping. Instead, I started listening to real English, unscripted, natural conversations. I found YouTube channels where two friends just talked. I watched reality shows, listened to podcasts where people laughed, interrupted each other, used slang, and talked the way people actually talk. I'll be honest, at first it was hard. I didn't catch everything. But guess what? I started to feel the language. Not just study it, not just memorize it. I started to absorb it, naturally. That's what real English does. It teaches you how people really speak, not how they're supposed to speak. Tip number 2. Don't focus on every word. This one changed my life. At first, I'd panic every time I didn't understand something. I'd pause, rewind, Google the word, get frustrated. But fluency doesn't mean understanding every word. Even native speakers don't. So I trained myself to relax, to focus on the message, not the syllables. If I caught 70% of a sentence, that was enough to understand. And if I didn't, that's okay. I'd keep listening. Context is powerful. Once I stopped obsessing over every word, listening got way easier and way more fun. Tip number 3. Repeat what you hear. Shadowing. Okay, this one. This was a game changer. I discovered something called shadowing. It's simple. You listen to a sentence, and you repeat it right away. Same tone, same rhythm, same pronunciation. It's like becoming the actor, not just watching the movie. I started with 2-minute podcast clips. I'd replay them over and over. Hey, what's up? You want to grab lunch later? I'd pause, rewind, say it again. At first, I sounded ridiculous. But within 2 weeks, my pronunciation improved. My brain started thinking faster in English. My sentences flowed better. I didn't just understand English. I started to sound English. Try this. Trust me. You'll feel the difference. Tip number 4. Write what you hear. This is the habit no one talks about, but it's powerful. I'd listen to a short video, pause, and write down what I heard. Sometimes it was just the main idea. Sometimes I'd try to write full sentences from memory. It helped me in 2 big ways. 1. My listening got sharper. 2. My writing improved without me even trying. Spelling, grammar, structure. It all got better. Naturally. No boring grammar drills. Just real practice. And bonus? I started recognizing patterns, like how people use gonna instead of going to, or how questions often end with right, or, you know? All of that came from listening and writing it down. Tip number 5. Use your environment. This is one of my favorite tips because it makes English part of your life. You don't need to be in the UK or US to learn from native speakers. You've got podcasts in your pocket, YouTube videos at breakfast, conversations around you at the supermarket. I started eavesdropping, politely, of course. On the bus, I'd listen to what people were saying. At the park, I'd tune into background conversations, and I'd play podcasts during my walks, just letting English wash over me. Every sound, every phrase, it became part of my world, and the more English surrounded me, the more natural it felt to speak it. You don't have to move countries. You don't need fancy apps. You just need to listen like a human, not like a student with a red pen, but like a person who's curious, who wants to connect, who wants to grow. So, pick one of these habits today. Start small. Even 10 minutes can change your brain. The key is this: real fluency starts with real listening, not perfect listening. Real listening. And you're already doing it, right now. Now let me ask you something, and be honest with yourself. Do you usually study English, or do you listen to it? Really think about it. When you sit down with your English practice, are you memorizing grammar rules, filling out exercises, learning lists of words? Or are you listening to how English actually sounds, in real conversations, in real situations? Because there's a big difference. Here's another question. When was the last time you listened to a real conversation in English? Not a classroom audio clip, not a slow learner's tape. I mean a natural conversation between friends, colleagues, family, maybe on a podcast, maybe in a vlog. If you can't remember, that might be a sign. And just one more. What's one English phrase you heard recently and didn't fully understand? Maybe it was in a video. Maybe it was on Netflix. Something that made you pause and go, wait, what did they just say? Hold on to that. Because those moments, that's where growth happens. Those little gaps in understanding, they show you exactly where to focus next. So here's what I want you to do after this episode ends. Write down one phrase you heard but didn't get. Look it up. Listen to it again. Use it in a sentence. And boom, you just took one more step toward fluency. This is how we grow. One honest reflection at a time. Let's keep going. We've still got more to explore together. You know what I mean? When you're sitting there, listening to two native speakers chatting, and it feels like they're speaking another language even though it's English. At first, I had no clue what they were saying. They were dropping words like kinda, gonna, no worries, I'm down, and my brain just froze. I was used to textbook English, slow, clear, structured. But this was real, and messy, and fast. And I'm not gonna lie, it was hard. There were days I wanted to give up. I'd replay the same 30 seconds of a podcast 5 times, and still feel lost. But then something changed. I stopped trying to catch every word. I started listening for the idea, the vibe, the rhythm, and slowly, I began to feel the language instead of translating it. That's when it hit me. Fluency doesn't come from perfection. It comes from connection. I started using phrases I heard, like, that blew my mind, when something surprised me. Or, you know what I mean? When I was checking if someone understood me. And the best part? These phrases didn't feel forced. They just came out naturally, because I heard them so many times in real conversations. So now, I want you to listen for those expressions. Not just in this podcast, but everywhere. Notice when someone says, I'm not gonna lie. Listen to how they say it. The tone, the pause, the emotion behind it. These are the little things that make your English feel alive. And trust me, you've got this. Let's keep going. You don't need a perfect textbook. You don't need expensive classes. What you need is your ears, your curiosity, and your willingness to listen, again and again. That's how I did it. Not by memorizing charts or drilling rules, but by living the language. By letting English surround me, speak to me, become part of my day. You see, listening isn't just a skill. It's your gateway to real fluency, to confidence, to finally understanding those fast, native conversations without panic. And every time you hear a real story, someone ordering coffee, laughing with a friend, sharing something personal, you're learning more than 10 grammar exercises ever could. Because you're learning how people actually speak, how they express emotions, how they connect. So here's my message to you right now. You can start today. Put on a podcast, watch a vlog, sit quietly in a coffee shop and just listen. No pressure to understand everything. No pressure to be perfect. Just listen. Because fluency isn't built in a day. It's built in every day. And you're already on your way. If this episode helped you, even just a little, hit that follow or subscribe button so you don't miss what's coming next. And if you've got a second, leave a quick comment or review. It means the world. Now, I want to hear from you. What's one real English habit you're going to start today? Will you shadow a video? Talk to yourself in English? Listen to a podcast during your walk? Let me know, because together, we're growing your fluency, one conversation at a time.